What is going on, everyone? Next talk with A and J here. What is going on, everyone? I hope you're all good. Okay, let me take my little microphone there. Uh, Let's see. Just stand by for a couple seconds, guys. I think you know what it is. It's that really annoying radio thing. Okay, that sounds pretty clear on my end. Okay, yeah, my apologies about that, guys. You know what it is? It's that little, like, I stream on StreamYard, and for some weird reason, it gives me free music, which isn't the weird part, but it, like, messes up. Like, I don't use a microphone. I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys can tell. I'm not that tech savvy. I don't use a microphone, and it seems to just mess up the audio whenever I use the music. So maybe I won't use the music for the future. My apologies about that. But in today's stream, no more microphone talk or technical issues. In today's stream, we are going to be going over the New York Mets and the Colorado Rockies series summary. Obviously, the New York Mets were able to take 2 out of 3 games against the Colorado Rockies, the Mile High City. So definitely good to see stuff going on there. Then we are going to be transitioning into the New York Mets and the San Francisco Giants series preview. Obviously, the New York Mets are heading to San Francisco to play a 3-game set against the Giants. So that is going to be a huge series coming ahead. We are definitely going to be very exciting to talk about that. But before we get into all of today's topics, ideas, and comments, please, everyone, smash that like button, turn on those post notifications. Please, everyone, tell your friends about this channel. And, of course, let's stop wasting any more time and let's get right into it. So, the New York Mets will be taking a 3-game little road trip to California. And what are they going to be doing in California? Well, they're going to be playing a 3-game set against the Giants. But let's get into the Colorado Rockies series summary. Getting into game 1, obviously, Friday's game was delayed because of snow. Only in Colorado it snows in May. As a Floridian, it's crazy to think. But the New York Mets won the first game by a score of 5-1. You had Carlos Cookie Carrasco on the bump for the Mets, and pretty good inning. I mean, pretty adequate start, I will say. He's been using that splitter slider pitch that I've been liking. He kept the ball on the ground. 5 1/3 innings, 7 hits, a run, 0 walks, 4 strikeouts. Phenomenal start. Could have not really asked for more. Really adequate start for Carrasco. Carrasco looks like a completely different pitcher than the small sample size that we saw from him last season. We know last year the first innings really got to the best of him, and he gave up a couple hits in the first inning. You know, I think he did have runners on the corners, but he was able to get out of it. So, I mean, in reality, who cares? Point is, he got out of it. Following that start, for 2/3 of an inning, Adam Ottavino came in, surrendered a hit. Quiet, nothing else. Drew Smith came in for an inning, 3 ground ball outs. And then following that, to go for 2 innings for the save, I guess you could say, Seth Lugo, 2 innings, only surrendered a hit, 3 strikeouts. Good to see Lugo really coming in there, not giving up any negative effects. In terms of the Mets offense, the offense was really rolling out as they had 13 hits this first game. Starling Marte leading off this game with a 2-run homer to left field, going 444 feet. So that ball was ripped by Marte. And we can say, I mean, throughout a lot of the season, we have been seeing Marte swing for the fences a lot. So that's interesting to see out of Marte. Hopefully, listen, you don't want him seen swinging for the fences every single pitch, but if he could be a power hitter and offer some power for this team, I think that can really be something intriguing because, as we've discussed a lot, this team doesn't have a whole lot of power besides, Pete Alonso or someone. So that could be something maybe if Marte can, provide some nice hitting there. So we'll see how that goes. Otherwise, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Following that, in the second inning, Patrick Mazeika coming into clutch with some catcher's offense. Patrick Mazeika came into this ball game and had a 2-run RBI double to left to bring in Luis Guillorme and, of course, Dom Smith. Love to see Mazeika getting in on some action. And then in the sixth inning, Francisco Lindor had an RBI single to right to bring in Patrick Mazeika. So really good to see some of this Mets offense really kind of wake up this game. I mean, yeah, it's Coors. I get it. Coors effect, yada, yada, yada. But, really good to see. I mean, this Mets offense definitely needed a little bit of Colorado. Obviously, Mets win game 1, score 5-1. Carrasco gets the win. Marquez gets the loss. Getting into game 2 of this series, game 2 of the doubleheader on Saturday, and game 2 of this series. Trevor Williams on the bump. Okay, first 2 innings. 4 innings, 3 hits, 4 runs, 2 strikeouts, 0 walks. Only went 52 pitches. Obviously could have went more, but due to his complexities, that was not the case. Oh well. Following getting into this Mets offense, it was a little quiet. They only got 8 hits, but stranding runners in scoring position and stranding runners on base was definitely pretty real in this game. As we could see in the second inning, Tomas Nido reached. He had an RBI single to bring in Eduardo Escobar. And then later on in that inning, Brandon Nimmo had a sac fly to left to bring in J.D. Davis. And then in the 6th inning, J.D. Davis had an RBI single to bring in Mark Canha. Mets lose game 2 by a score 3-11. Not much to talk about. I didn't really watch this game, to be honest. I was at a wedding, so I was kind of looking over. But once I saw it was like 3-8, I was like, yeah, I think that's ball game. And getting into the final game of this 3-game set of this series, yesterday's game, the New York Mets won this game 2-0. Not the most exciting game, but hey, in the books, it's a win. They won. Taijuan Walker on the bump, and kudos to Taijuan Walker. I mean, this dude has just been really, really, really phenomenal for this Mets team. I am absolutely loving what we were seeing out of Taijuan Walker. The splitter slider pitch is being thrown harder. His fastball is looking good. He's getting command of his secondary pitches. He's not, throwing his secondary pitches all over the place. So kudos to Taijuan Walker. I mean, really, really solid outing. I mean, we've been seeing this dude go 6-7 innings. I mean, back-to-back starts, and that's huge. That is huge. 7 innings, 5 hits, 0 runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, 97 pitches. Reality, he's getting a lot of contact outs. Obviously he's getting a lot of ground balls, and especially at Coors Field. I think that is huge. I mean, there weren't really many fly balls from him yesterday. I saw a couple fly balls, none really to center, a couple to left. Otherwise, the Mets, Walker kept the ball on the ground. And at Coors Field, I think that is a huge thing. Keeping the ball on the ground at Coors Field is tremendous. I mean, it really is. So absolutely phenomenal start for Taijuan Walker. I mean, this dude, if he could pitch like how he did the first half last year, listen, if he falls apart in the second half, okay. But you know what? I would much rather him pitch how he is, and then he falls off in the second half. Not saying he will, but keep pitching how you're doing until we can get DeGrom and Scherzer and McGill back. So kudos to Taijuan Walker. I mean, coming back 3 back-to-back really good starts. Following the bullpen, they did their job. Ottavino came in 2/3 of an inning, 2 walks, a strikeout. You hope Ottavino can start to get his stuff together a little bit. Dolly Rodriguez came in, literally faced 1 batter, 1 pitch, and yeah, so Dolly Rodriguez not really doing much, but hey, got 1 pitch, 1 out. And then Edwin Diaz came in to save it. A hit, 2 strikeouts. Good for Edwin Diaz. Really like to see Diaz, really 10th save of the year. I mean, Diaz has been really lights out so far. I mean, only 1 technical blown save this season in Arizona. And so far, he really has been lights out. I mean, the long ball hasn't been an issue for Diaz. That's slider pitch, slider and fastball have looking phenomenal. He's throwing hard. Edwin Diaz, I mean, what is there really not much more to like from Edwin Diaz so far this year? We'll see. We know he can get a little inconsistent. I understand that's going to be a thing for Edwin Diaz. We'll see. Getting into this Mets offense, it was a quiet game offensively. I mean, yeah, you only got 7 hits, but, definitely not, I guess, the worst game. I mean, hey, you won. You would have hoped maybe Coors Field, you could have put up a little bit more production offensively, but hey, 7 hits, I will take that. Obviously, this team did score 2 runs, and how did they score those 2 runs? Well, it was only in the 6th inning, and otherwise it was pretty quiet. We had Francisco Lindor had an RBI single to left to bring in Brandon Nimmo, and then following that at bat, we had Pete Alonso had an RBI single to bring in Francisco Lindor. So pretty interesting game there. Like I said, quiet offensively, but hey, who really cares? At the end of the day, a win's a win. So that is the New York Mets and the Colorado Rockies series summary. The New York Mets took this Colorado Rockies series by 2 wins and, of course, only losing 1. Would have liked the sweep, but hey, taking 2 of 1, that's what you do. Good teams are supposed to beat up on bad teams. And you know what? I'm not even going to call the Rockies a bad team. I think, yeah, maybe down the line, down the stretch, they could be one. but they've been putting up adequate numbers. I mean, the Rockies, trying to shut down, you know, guys like CJ Cron and Ryan McMahon, who really have been blowing up a lot lately, is really good. I know their pitching may not be the best, besides like Chad Cole, but really tip of the cap for really, shutting down, electric guys like CJ Cron. So now getting into this New York Mets and the San Francisco Giants series summary. The New York Mets are set to face a 3-game series in San Francisco. We know the last time the Mets faced the Giants was at home at Citi Field last month. And how did this go? Well, the New York Mets took 3 out of 4 games from the San Francisco Giants, and that was facing 2 of their left-handed pitchers. We know the Mets are a team that really do have a lot of complexities when it comes to, facing left-handed pitching. And luckily, I'm excited to tell everyone, the New York Mets will not be facing a left-handed pitcher this series in San Francisco. So that's a huge W for the New York Mets. Obviously, both of their lefty starters who their lefty starters. I forgot, but they will not be facing them. I think they started yesterday and the day prior. So that is really good to see. Obviously, the Mets will not have their left-handed pitching. They're facing the left-handed pitching complexity. We know that's something that the Mets, they're going to have to get a little bit used to. We know they had trouble hitting yesterday against Gomber, a lefty. So, we're going to have to see how this honestly can go ahead for them. So we'll see. Will be a journey. But getting into the New York Mets and the San Francisco Giants series summer preview. The Mets are set to face Game 1 tonight in San Francisco. We have a 9:45 start. Trust me, I'm not big on the 9:45 starts. I am not fond of them either. I know I live on the East Coast. I live in Florida. It's definitely a pain in the behind to have to deal with these really late starts. But, oh well, it's going to happen. On the bump for the New York Mets, we will have David Peterson, the left-handed southpaw, on the bump for the Mets, making arguably, I think, a second full start this season. So we will see what David Peterson can get rolling for this New York Mets team. Peterson, obviously, he made a couple starts in AAA. Looked okay. No major complaints. I think he had like one rough outing in A-ball compared to like 5 other ones. So Peterson's looking good. Currently at the major league level, 1-0 on the season, 1.89 ERA, 1.11 WHIP. Pitched 19 innings so far this season with the Mets at the major league level, 16 strikeouts and only 1 home run. So good to see him limiting the long ball. We know that's something that's been an issue for him. Fastball slider type of pitcher. Nice movement on his pitches, nice windup. Can really mix up some of the hitters sometimes. So we'll see. Hopefully, just keep that slider, down and away. Don't keep it right down the middle, because that is where a lot of this Giants team can really hit on. We know they are a good slider hitting team. So we'll see how the Giants can face against David Peterson. Obviously on the bump for the Giants, Alex Cobb, 3-1 on the season, 5.61 ERA, 1.52 WHIP, 25.2 innings pitched, and of course 32 strikeouts. Cobb is a righty, so that is a huge benefit. Obviously not a lefty. Getting into Game 2 of this series, tomorrow's game, we will have Chris Bassitt on the bump for the New York Mets. Obviously, Bassitt 4-2 on the season, 2.77 ERA, 1.09 WHIP, 49 innings pitched, and of course, 49 strikeouts. What I've been liking out of Bassitt is he's been very aggressive when he gets behind in the count, which isn't very rare, but, that's good to see out of Bassitt. Bassitt has just been looking phenomenal, mixing up his pitches. The command of the zone has been phenomenal for him. So overall, when it comes to Chris Bassitt, what I'm going to say is just continue how he's been pitching. I know it sounds kind of basic. It's not really a deep of an analysis, but that's what I'll say for Bassitt. That's all I will say for Bassitt. And obviously for the San Francisco Giants, they will have Logan Webb on the bump, right-handed pitcher. So that's good to see also. Very good to see. 5-1 on the season, obviously. 3.54 ERA, 1.26 WHIP, 48.1 innings pitched, and of course, 34 strikeouts. And of course, Game 3 and the final game of this set. Obviously, for the New York Mets, who they're going to have on the bump as of right now, it is likely going to be Thomas Szapucki. I'm not crazy about that start. Szapucki, I will say, compared to last season, He has been looking a little bit better. We know last year he had a little bit of a small sample size with the Mets, and he did not look good. Biggest thing with Szapucki is keep command of the strike zone. Because Szapucki, and I could say, I mean, I've seen him pitch in spring training. His command of the zone really gets all over the place. And that is where he will collapse. That is really where he will collapse. So biggest thing for Thomas Szapucki is keep command of the strike zone. I mean, his velocity has been up. We've been seeing a lot of whiffs, a lot of swinging and misses, and a lot of strikes. I think he had a 33% strikeout rate. Strikeout percentage, whatever you want to call it. So, I mean, that's going to be phenomenal for Szapucki. But overall, keep command of the strike zone. That's my biggest thing for Szapucki is keep command of the strike zone, and hopefully he could get some stuff done. I'm not saying Szapucki's going to come out and throw 7-6 innings. No, I mean that'd be a treat if he could. But give me 3 innings and then transition to the bullpen. I know you don't have many off days coming ahead. Now, going into June, you're going to be facing a lot of tough teams. So when it comes to the bullpen, you got to manage it carefully. There aren't any double headers coming up ahead. So, you know, that extra man on the roster spot or extra 2 men on the roster spot won't really come into effect for the Mets. So, like I said, we're just going to have to see how Showalter's going to manage Szapucki. If we are, you know, going to lose a game, I think I would most likely bet my money on the Sunday's game. No offense to Szapucki, but we'll see. I mean, if his command is there, you know, I think maybe he can get some stuff done. So that is the New York Mets and the San Francisco Giants series preview. Obviously, a lot of stuff going into this series. Obviously, Giants are coming off of a rough stretch. They lost their last 4 games, currently lost a 3-game series. They got swept against the San Diego Padres, where their offense was completely dead. They only scoring 7 runs in the first game, 1 in the second, and 1 in the third. So, you know, the Giants' offense is definitely due to blow up. Could this be the moment? I hope not, but we'll see. Giants offense definitely has some power. We can say they have some power. Their offense is kind of outdoing their pitching. We know last year, I think it was the other way around. Their pitching was helping out their offense. I think it's kind of the other way around this year. You know, looking at a couple guys from the Giants, you know, Mike Yastrzemski is going to be a huge guy, big lefty killer. And the Mets have 2 of those on the mound in Game 1 and Game 3 of this series. So we'll see. But in terms of my New York Mets for this series, who am I going to go with? Well, probably going to go with Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso has been on fire these last couple games. Obviously, so far this season, Alonso, 10 homers, obviously huge. We know he had that walk-off home run against the St. Louis Cardinals. He's batting .279, 37 RBIs. He does have good numbers at San Francisco. Obviously, triples alley is something he could definitely take advantage of. We know that we've been seeing Alonso really go kind of the opposite way. And if he could drive the ball with a little bit of power and pull it towards triples alley, we could see, you know, doubles and triples really there for him. Same thing for Nimmo. We know Nimmo has been hustling out a lot of triples this year. So Mets could definitely take advantage of that triples alley thing. But taking a look-see at Pete Alonso's stats, and we will definitely get into your guys' comments, questions, and concerns in a minute or two. But getting into Alonso's stats we'll go last 15 games. How does that sound? Last 15 games. Actually, you know what? No, we're going to go the last 7 games. Last 7 games in 28 at-bats, 9 hits, 2 homers, 8 RBIs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, a stolen base. Good to see the stolen base. 321 average, 387 OPP, and, of course, a 571 slugging. I mean, that's huge. I mean, Alonso has been really phenomenal series of Coors Field, phenomenal series against the Cardinals going back. I mean, this dude has been having a phenomenal May. Definitely all-star caliber numbers. So I think Alonso is going to be the guy this series for the Giants to try and set down because they're not facing any left-handed pitching. And Alonso has pretty good numbers in San Francisco. Honestly, he has good numbers on the West Coast. So we will see how Pete Alonso can perform out in the Bay Area. But let's get into all of guys' comments, questions, and concerns. What's going on, everyone? What's going on, Mark? What's going on, Franco? What's going on, Trey, Seth? Jack in the Box, how am I doing? I'm doing well, of course. Enjoyed that Series W. That was huge. Definitely like to see that more from this Mets team. But I'm doing well, man. I appreciate it. Marco, what's happening? Cal, Kobe, Cal, what's going on? Peter, Christopher, Kobe, what's happening? Kobe says, hey, Hayden, taking 2 of 3 from the Rockies is good. Of course, I like sweeps and all. But all that matters is winning the series. LFGM, 100%. I mean, all that really matters is you win the series. Like I said, take 2 of 3, split the series 2 of 4, and I'm happy. I'm not asking for sweeps. Don't get me wrong. I think, a nice 7-8 game hot streak could be nice. We saw some of that from the Dodgers, the Yankees. That could be nice. Take 2 of 3. Take 2 of 4. And then you're guaranteed for success. Trey says, how much more time does Dom Smith get before being sent down to the minors? Well, listen, if Dominic Smith does get sent down to the minors, that would really be a bad show. For starters, a lot of guys had Smith as a breakout candidate. And I did too. I'm guilty of it. I thought this dude was going to break out this year. With Dom Smith, I think it's just going to come to the point of how much more patient Mets fans are going to be with him. Because I definitely feel that Dom Smith has the potential, but that uppercut swing has been driving me nuts. And, Dom Smith, we know that he's voiced out of, in being traded, but no offense. You see the numbers you're putting up? So, if we were going to trade Dom Smith, and I guess not to be negative, but I kind of was a big proponent of trading away Dom Smith this offseason because his value is high. Now his value is not very high. So I think it's just going to come down to what can you get out of him and when can you get it. So we'll see. I don't know how much time he's going to get. Like I say, you have Alonso at first. Left, where else are you going to put him? Left field is mainly taken, split between Canner and McNeil and left. The DH role, okay, maybe you could put him in there, and he wants to play the DH role, but he's not hitting. He had that one game, I think it was against the Nationals or Cardinals, I think it was, where he had like 2 extra base hits. That's great, but I need to see more than, one good game out of him. Don't get me wrong, I think he's had a couple good games, but Smith, his bat's going to have to wake up if he wants to get more playing time. Peter says, hey, Hayden, how are you? Feels great to see the Mets winning series. I believe they are 12-1-1 in series played so far. The pitching staff has been electric. Yeah, I believe you do have the numbers right. They won 12 series, lost 1, and then tied 1. They lost a series to the Mariners and then tied 1 against I forgot who it was, but they tied a series. I forgot, but that doesn't matter. Yeah. For the least, this pitching staff has really been phenomenal, to say for the least. I'm loving what we're seeing with this rotation, and even the bullpen. The bullpen is definitely doing their job, and to think with all these injuries, it's crazy. And I can only imagine when DeGrom comes back, when McGill comes back, when Scherzer comes back. You have so much depth. And going into the season, I came onto the stream and said the Mets have so much pitching. Starting off with DeGrom, Scherzer, Carrasco, Walker, Bassett. Going ahead, McGill, Peterson, you have Yamamoto, you have Zappucki, you have Budo need be, and he's actually been doing pretty well in AAA. So that is what I really like to see from this Mets team. I'd rather this team have so much depth. Like I said, have a full-on rotation set in AAA so that if there's a day where there needs to be a call-up for someone, you have that ready. I think that's going to be the biggest thing for the Mets ahead, especially going into the second half. When is DeGrom going to come back? When is Scherzer going to come back? I know I've been getting that asked a million times, and hey, I'm fine with that. Scherzer's probably going to be until July, and same thing for DeGrom. I think it's literally going to be a race. Who comes back first, DeGrom or Scherzer? I think that's literally going to be the race. And I couldn't really tell you who's going to come back. Scherzer's 6 to 8 weeks. It's been a week already. And then obviously DeGrom doesn't really have a timetable set. So we're also going to have to see how that goes ahead. I'm pretty interested to see, but we'll see. I've been dosed. What's happening? RJ says Mets are on a roll. Absolutely loving what this team is doing. The bats show up when needed and the arms show up when needed. Yeah, like I say, baseball is weird. The offense can give you 20 hits and the pitching can give up 20 runs. That's how baseball works. But yeah, like I said, the offense and the pitching are doing their job. This is an interesting question. Cal says, should Luis Guillorme get more playing time? If so, what position? I would say utility at second base, shortstop, and third. I would have no problem with Luis Guillorme getting more playing time. I think the biggest thing with Luis Guillorme this year is the sample size he's playing. We know that he really has been playing more games than usual. We know that Buck Showalter is kind of a guy. He's kind of a guy that doesn't want his players sitting on the bench. And I'm okay with that feeling. Listen, if they're going to hit, let them play. I can care less. But I think the biggest thing with Guillorme is going to be the consistency. We know he doesn't have a lot of power, but he's another one of those table setter, on base guys. And the contact has been amazing for him. I mean, listen, he's not hitting home runs or doubles or triples, but he's getting base hits. And base hits, it's a hit. If it goes into the outfield, if it advances runners, I'm all for it. So Luis Guillorme honestly has really been putting up good numbers this season so far. I really will say for the least. So keep it up, Guillorme. I mean, that's all I'm going to say. Will it last the whole season? I hope so. But overall, what I'm going to say for Guillorme is keep it up. I mean, let's look at Luis Guillorme's stats so far this season. I mean, he's been putting up good numbers. I really will say. I mean, he really has been putting up good numbers this season. Let's go to ML. No, I don't want minor league. He's not a minor leaguer. MLB. Yeah, I mean, he's been putting up really good numbers. I mean, so far, the last 7 games, 556 average, 556 OBP, and a 611 slugging. I mean, last 7 games, 10 hits and RBI, 2 strikeouts, a stolen base. Like I said, he's towards the bottom end. He's towards the bottom end of this lineup. He's going to be hitting 8th or 9th or 7th. So the RBIs aren't going to be a huge thing for him. But overall, I have no problem with him being the protective of the lineup. Like I said, you got to balance out the lineup. In April, we saw like the 7, 8, and 9 kind of roll, not really doing much. You had Cano, you had Smith. Guillorme at the time wasn't doing much. You got to balance out the lineup. And I really think that is what this team can do. So we'll see. Trey, what's happening? Trey says, who are the Mets' biggest threat to win the NL East? That's a good question. But let's take a look-see on my phone. Stand by. Let's see the MLB standings. I'm honestly probably going to say the Braves. Braves and Phillies are literally tied for second place. But I'm probably going to say the Braves. I mean, the Braves are just keep in mind, the Braves last year at the deadline and at the All-Star break were under 500. And like I said, they got the pieces that were able to help them provide offense when it mattered most. They didn't get these crazy hitters that, were going to do anything crazy, but they got guys that would hit when it mattered. Same thing with the Mets in 2015. They brought in Cespedes, they brought in Campbell. They brought in a lot of these, intriguing pieces, for this Mets team for them to be successful. So same thing for the Braves. I mean, they'll definitely be making a huge move at the deadline. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Olsen's been a little quiet. It's all right. Not crazy about that, but definitely exciting to see how this Mets and Braves offense can conclude. I think Phillies' biggest thing for the Phillies is going to be the consistency. We see like their pitching will be good one day, and then their offense will be completely dead, and then the next day their offense will be there, but their pitching won't be there. And that's baseball. That happens. I get that. So I think that's going to be a thing for the Phillies. Marlins, we'll see how they're going to go. I mean, I definitely think they have some work to do ahead. We'll see. Maybe they'll make a move at the deadline. And Nationals, they pretty much have it. Connor, what's going on? What's happening, man? Marco says, what's your favorite Baseball City Connect jersey now? Good question, man. As of right now, I'm probably going to go with the Marlins. They're very fresh ones, I will say. Michael, what's happening? Michael says, should the Mets explore extension talks with Chris Bassett? 100%. Listen, I get it's early. I mean, I know the dude's only been here for like 2 months, but he is a guy who can definitely be the definition of a consistent pitcher, and I think Bassett can offer the best of his value in New York. I mean, he's in Oakland. We've seen how he's been pitching. I mean, I think definitely he could get something around the lines of, maybe a little bit more than Stroman. I think obviously what Stroman got in Chicago, if you're going to consider him, maybe 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, taking a look at Bassett, I mean, how old is he? I don't think he's like incredibly old, but I don't think he's young. He's 33, so literally average age for a pitcher, in my opinion. So I think that could be something to look into. You got a ton of extensions this upcoming offseason. Chris Bassett, I think Edwin Diaz could definitely be a possibility of an extension. Brandon Nimmo, I think, is going to be the number one extension candidate. Talks down the line. So there's so many more guys out there ahead. So yeah, 100%. I would say go for it. Connor says, I hope Dom Smith and Eduardo Escobar can get their bats going soon because the bottom of the lineup can really use it. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the bottom of this lineup hasn't really been doing a whole lot. I mean, obviously, yeah, what the only thing I don't like about Guillorme batting so low is that he has Nito behind him. So you'll have Guillorme 8th and Nito 9th, and then Nito just wastes it. I mean, like you'll have Guillorme on with 1 out, and then Nito just wastes it with the double play. That's my only thing. So maybe I wouldn't be against moving Guillorme up. At least move him up 1 or 2. Or I wouldn't be against him batting 9th. That way you have like that 9-1-2 type of combo if you're going into an inning. So you have like a Guillorme, Nimmo, and then whoever bats second, whether that's a Marte, Lindor, McNeil. That could be a little interesting thing there. Alex, what's happening? Loyal Tigers fan. He says, let's go Tigers. Yeah, Tigers are looking intriguing, I guess. Peter says, a little bit worried about going into June. Kind of nervous heading into these huge series with the 4-man rotation. That 5th spot is going to be weary, but the offense can hopefully carry. Yeah, I mean, like I said, going ahead, the Mets rotation is going to look like Bassett, Carrasco, and Walker. And then I guess Peterson in number 4. And number 5, is it Sapaki? Is it Budo? Are you going to play around with the 5th spot? I don't want to play around with it too much. I kind of have a defined guy. Keep in mind, you can only option a guy 5 times. So, I mean, that's really going to be the biggest thing. Like I said, that's why it's important to have a whole set of rotation guys in AAA. And it seems what they have. Keep in mind, I still have Yamamoto, so I haven't heard much from him. I don't know how he's doing. I believe he is pitching, I believe. I don't know if he's still hurt. But, yeah, I think June is going to be a huge thing for this team. That's going to be the test. Because going into June, I mean, Mets June. I mean, you're facing some tough teams, keep in mind. I mean, I get it. The Mets definitely can do damage. Going into June, Dodgers, Padres, Angels, Brewers, Marlins, Astros. I mean, simply enough, just Dodgers, Padres, Angels, Brewers. I mean, that's definitely a little bit of a concern right there. So we'll see. We'll see. I think, if hopefully you can get McGill back by, I think, what is it, that second series in June, which was the Padres. I don't know if Tyler McGill has a set, timetable on when he's coming back. But if you can definitely get McGill back, then that could be huge. And then you kind of have that 5th spot won't be as concerning because you'll have Peterson in that 5th spot. Like I said, I'm not against Peterson, full on getting starts. In my opinion, I think Peterson is a bullpen guy, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes ahead. Like I said, we will see ahead. Cal, what's happening? Taijuan Walker has been a huge success so far. I'm loving his stuff and the length he's going in games. Yeah, man, I said that before. I mean, Walker, the length. 7 innings, 6 innings. That's huge, especially, with the Mets bullpen kind of in concern going ahead into June. You want them to be the most rested they could be. Walker, phenomenal start. We saw how he was last year. Explosive last year in the first half. Fell apart in the second half. I think the innings pitched and fatigueness really got to him. And if Walker could pitch like this, listen, if he falls off in the second half, I don't think that'll be the case for him this year. But give me the first half. Focus on the first half. Focus on June. Focus on July and the rest of this, the 5-6 more days in May, whatever day it is. And then we'll focus on Walker in the second half. Like I said, definitely has elite stuff. Splitter, slider. The strikeouts are down, but the ground ball rate is up. And the Mets have a good defense in the infield. Alonso at first, McNeil at second, Lindor at short, and Escobar at third. Pretty good defensive infield. Escobar has been a little crazy in the third base corner, but overall, I'm really not complaining. And when I say Escobar has been crazy, it's on like Arenado type of throws. He's able to field regular ground balls. AB, what's going on? Eric, what's happening? He says, keep up the good work. I appreciate you, brother. Trey says Mets definitely need another pitcher with another player with some pop. The offense is in a bit of a slump at the moment, but if JD continues to get at bats and he fires up offensively, yeah. JD Davis has been hitting the ball well, but he's been striking out a lot. He's one of few guys who cannot hit a 4-seam fastball, so he's gonna have to work on that if he wants a full-on role with this Mets team down the line. So we'll see how that goes for JD. I like him. I think he can be a really good hitter. down the line, when it comes to him, if JD, I think JD is the guy who needs the reps, but it's going to come to the point is like Dom Smith, how much longer are we going to wait? He's been getting time consistently at the DH role. He started at third a couple times. I'm not putting JD Davis in the outfield for a game. Absolutely not. That really wouldn't do something unless you have like a ground ball pitcher, but besides Walker. And even if so, I wouldn't want to put JD in the outfield. I don't want too many guys out of position. Well, not many guys are out of position this year, but I don't want the Mets to, get back into that habit of so many guys out of position. So that's going to be huge for JD if he could wake up. Custom Design Nintendos, he says, what's up? It's Shea Parking Lot. Hey, what's going on, man? Appreciate you tuning in, brother. LFGM. Lucas says Dolly Rodriguez is proving himself to be a good fit in the bullpen. Yeah, I will say for the least, obviously he started off a little questionable with command. But hey, he's the left-handed pitcher, left-handed remedy for the bullpen. And I will say, I don't think he's given up a run in his last 4 starts. We know he had that little rough go of it against the Mariners, but otherwise pretty clean season. So definitely good replacement. I know a lot of people were saying, oh, Castro, yada, yada, yada. Look how Castro was last night. He gave up a 3-run homer to Tim Anderson. So everyone's going to have their struggles. But I will say Miguel Castro and Dolly Rodriguez have both been having really good seasons. I really will say. JD Davis has been a victim of the dented ball. So many hard hit balls that just fell off at the last second. Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. He has been getting very unlucky. I think he had that one game in Philly where he had 3 games where he had 3 games where he had a game against the Mariners where he had 5 hits and all 5 of them were over 100 miles per hour of the exit velocity. So just little stuff like that. I don't get me wrong. It's going to happen. JD Davis, what I like is the opposite field hard contact. Hopefully he could get on that a little bit. Maybe in the second half, if they bring back the juice ball, JD Davis will wake up a little bit, but I'm not going to be completely panicking for that case. So we'll see how that goes. Marco, what's going on? Marco says, what are the current rankings of some Mets prospects with a lot of recent call-ups for guys like Julio Rodriguez and Adley Rutschman and much more? Well, yeah, first things first, really good to see Adley Rutschman making his debut. Obviously, really, he definitely is a guy who really honestly deserves it, in my opinion. Definitely huge for him. Obviously, Julio Rodriguez has really been the only prospect who has actually been having a good season so far. Rutschman is kind of still new to determine, but Julio Rodriguez is the only prospect that's actually doing stuff. Torkelson hasn't been doing anything. Bobby Wood Jr. has been a little quiet. He went into a little bit of a slump. He's waking up though a little bit. So, we're honestly going to have to see how things go. So we'll see. But in terms of Mets prospects, I know Alvarez was moved up from 9 to 7. I believe Beatty was moved up 23. I couldn't tell you Mauricio or Vientos, but I could just tell you those 2. Kobe says, with Scherzer being out 6 to 8 weeks, how should the Mets handle his absence? Well, hopefully with AAA, that could handle his absence, and that seems the approach they're going to take there. Maybe they were going to go out for a guy like Tyler Mahle. I'm not really crazy about him, in my opinion. Yeah, I get it. He pitches in a pitcher's ballpark, but still, I wasn't crazy about him. The offseason I was, but seeing him a little this year, maybe. Sandy Alderson could use his relations in Oakland. You get a Frankie Montas or, some type of, depth out there. A's are always a sneaky team. At the deadline, they'll have DeGrom and Scherzer back, so that'll be literally their deadline move. But no, they'll make some moves. So super exciting to see ahead. Peter says, I think the Mets should give Budo some time as an opener. See how his stats have been this season. Maybe an opener. I'm not saying he's starting games, but maybe an opener wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Doesn't have the best numbers in AA this year. 1-4, 3.77 ERA. Started 8 games, 31 innings, 41 strikeouts, 1.23 WHIP. Not crazy about him. The innings pitched is kind of weird for him. Oh, because they're 2 teams. That's why. Yeah, I don't want to rush him up. 24. That's the thing with the Mets. They call up all their pitching prospects 25, 26, 27. Mets, custom design Nintendo says Mets just have Vientos, Beatty, and Alvarez, but they don't need to come up. Yeah, I mean, I'm not rushing those guys up. Let them continue to progress and play how they are in A-ball. Maybe next year we can get into the conversation, like coming next spring training, see how Alvarez is looking, see how Beatty's looking. I think out of all of those guys, I think Vientos will probably get called up first just because he could play the DH role. And that's kind of, it's only one thing to focus on. Like, he doesn't have to focus on a position, just the DH. So maybe Vientos will be the first to get called up. Dom gets traded. Yeah, I think at the trade deadline, that's probably going to be the case. RJ says the Mets will probably use Apucky and Peterson now more regularly. I think one as a starter and one in a bullpen role could be nice. Yeah, I mean, like I said, Peterson, in my opinion, like I always say with the Brewers, I said it a million times, and I'm going to say it again. Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff. How did the Brewers develop those guys? They put them in the bullpen. They let them eat innings. They let them finagle their pitches. Get used to everything. Get a wiggle of everything, and then they put them in a defined rotation role. Look how they were. So I think that could be a thing for Peterson. Maybe McGill coming into the second half when DeGrom and Scherzer comes back, and that puts McGill kind of at a rotation spot. So we'll see. I mean, Zapucki could. I'm not like. I know a lot of people were really high on him. We'll see. I mean, I'm not expecting like a crazy start out of him, but biggest thing I think for him is going to be the command, like I say. Same thing, I mean, Peterson, just do what you got to do, I guess. Alex says, who's been the Mets MVP so far? That's a good question. As of right now, when it comes to the Mets MVP, probably going to say Pete Alonso. I mean, this dude has besides his performance, just the leadership. In my opinion, I think he is the captain of this team. I really do. Great clubhouse guy. I mean, he is the captain. He really is. But in terms of his playing performance, he's been phenomenal this year. How Alex Halpert, the seat flap on the helmet. Oh yeah, because of all the hit by pitches. Trey says at some point they're gonna have to start hitting the ball hard. Period. Everything is on the ground. You want balls not flying out, but these stats are not a good sign or trend. Yeah, like I say, I mean, I don't think the Mets are a team that has like, insane power. But when it comes to that, adding on to that, it's crazy to see the Mets, put up, 6-7 runs with no homers. It's only crazy to see, like, Pete Alonso just come to the dish and hit a 3-run homer and just expand the lead. Stuff like that's huge. And I know I talked about it last stream in 2019. I mean, you had Alonso with 53. I think McNeil had like 21. Davis had like 21. I mean, Conforto had like 30-something. You had Rosario had, 15-something. You had Frazier hit 15-something. As of right now, I mean, I could easily see Alonso, hitting 40, 45 home runs. But behind him, what are the guys in this lineup who are going to hit home runs besides Alonso? Nimmo isn't a power guy. McNeil is not a power guy. I mean, maybe Lindor. Maybe I could see Lindor finishing with like 20, 25. But no one really on this team else has power. Escobar, I mean, allegedly had so much power last year, but we haven't seen much of it. So, I mean, I would love to say Escobar can get 30, 35 and, be, 10 away from Alonso, hopefully, but he hasn't really been hitting. Brian plays, what's happening, man? Brian says, do you have any idea when Bassett will be on the mound? Yes. So Chris Bassett will be on the mound, I believe, for the San Francisco Giants series, taking a look-see at what our buddy Chris Bassett can do. Let's see. I think I did go over when Bassett would pitch. So like I said, we had Peterson for one. I know I went over my recap, but to be honest with you guys, everything kind of went out the window. Just a little bit. So Bassett will be on for game 2 of this game. So tomorrow's game against Logan Webb, he will be on the bump. And Bassett's been phenomenal. Gallipo says, once the Mets start hitting for more power, they'll be scary good. This team is driving in plenty of runs and lead contact. Exactly. And, I guess, they're taking advantage of a dead, dented ball. Don't get me wrong. I think power is something that's going to be needed, if this team has any desire to make it to the playoffs, because, you need some power. You need a guy who could just clear the bases with a double, a triple, or a home run. You're just going to need that. And don't get me wrong. I think Alonso definitely can do a more than good job at that. But he needs protection in the lineup. Alonso doesn't have much behind him. I wasn't against having McNeil hit behind him, but realizing that McNeil is more that, light contact type of guy, I would much rather him. To be honest, I have no problem with McNeil batting third. I really wouldn't. Or second. So we'll see. We'll see. Brian says, I think the Braves or Phillies are one of the biggest threats to the Mets this year, mostly Atlanta. Yeah, I agree. Gallipo says, now the Mets have enough offense, but Escobar needs to start producing and be moved out of the fifth spot. He walks, hits doubles, and is a great clubhouse guy, but the 1 home run and 7 RBIs behind Pete, yeah. I mean, he's not giving Alonso any protection or really any of this line of protection. I mean, and the thing is, he's not hitting, he's not getting any barrels and, it was an unlucky hit or, just got into a glove. He's not really hitting the ball that great. I mean, taking a look at Eduardo Escobar this season, I mean, he just really hasn't been hitting the ball well at all. Okay, I can care less about his basic batting average, but that is a little bit of concern when you see out of Escobar. I mean, out of all the guys that have been the biggest pickup, I think it's either Canna or Marte. I mean, yeah, the biggest thing for him is the exit velocity has kind of been the same. So dead balls have nothing to do with it. The strikeouts are there. He's not getting any barrels. He's really not getting into any barrels. Yeah, I mean, he's not hitting for hard contact. I mean, the XBA, strikeouts are definitely up, 25.3%. The walks are up, though, which is weird. So that's good to see. I mean, I can only imagine if this dude wasn't walking as much, I mean, what his OPS would look like. And all Mets fans would be losing it. So, we'll see how our buddy Eduardo Escobar can get rolling ahead. You got any money playing? Custom Design Nintendo says, you got the money guys playing. Lindor and Escobar need to play. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think those guys should hopefully wake up soon. Peter says, should the Mets call Francisco Alvarez? No. Don't get me wrong. I love Alvarez. I mean, for one, he's 20, and I've always expressed that it's huge that the Mets start calling up a lot of their prospects young. But catcher is the one position that I say no. If you're a shortstop, first baseman, an outfielder, okay, sure. Well, I wouldn't be against it. But I don't think it's a good idea to call him up early. For one, he's a catcher, and that's a much more different position where you have to be really attentive and ready. And I would hate for him to be called up and he's just not ready. I mean, that would really, really, really suck to see. So, like I said, not like crazy worried, but definitely excited to see. In my opinion, when Alvarez can get called up, in my opinion, if it comes to Alvarez, I would say next year. I really think would be the most favorable timetable next year. Kobe says, do you think Pete Alonso will outnumber the walk-offs that Wilmer Flores had? That's an interesting question. Well, Alonso, I know he had the walk-off. He had one this year against St. Louis last week. He had a walk-off homer against the Nationals last year. He had a walk-off homer against the Yankees in 2020 on Tom Seaver Remembrance Day. So that's 3. He had a walk-off walk against the Marlins, or the Phillies. I was actually at that game in 2019. Good game to remember. And then I believe he had one against the Reds. I don't know why I know this stuff. I was actually wondering that, like, when he hit that homer against St. Louis, I was like, how many walk-offs does he have? So he has 5. One against the Reds, one against the Reds, Phillies, Yankees. Yeah, so 5. I believe Flores had 10. So with the way Alonso's been playing, he's pretty much getting a walk-off or 2 per year. I'd imagine he's not going anywhere unless he gets abducted by aliens or something like that. So, yeah, I definitely think it's possible. I mean, he's halfway there. I believe Flores had 9 or 10. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets past that. I really wouldn't. Pete Alonso, yeah. No, he's not ready. Yeah, I agree. John, what's going on? John says, I believe Zapucki is going to get called up soon. Yeah, he is allegedly set to pretty much make his start on Sunday. So we'll see. I mean, I'm not expecting him. He'll probably get sent down after the game. So I'm not crazy. Yeah, I agree. When he's ready. Yes, he is pitching Wednesday. That is true. Trey says, if Nimmo hits well against left-handed pitching, why not put him in the 3-hole with Marte and Lindor in front of him? So you have Marte lead off. Well, Lindor is a switch hitter, but in my opinion, Lindor has really only been hitting from the right-hand side, so that's kind of out the window. If anything, I'd rather have McNeil. I'd rather it be like Nimmo, but then you move Pete down. No, I mean, I honestly am a huge proponent of batting Alonso third. I mean, if you see Alonso's numbers, I mean, WRC plus, average OPS, just overall run creation and productivity, his best numbers are in the 3-hole, 2 spot. But you have too much depth that you can't just put a power hitter in the number 2 spot for this team. Last year that was the case because no one on this team besides Alonso and Nimmo were hitting last year. Now it's a different case, so we'll see. I definitely. That's not bad to explore. I'm not crazy about changing the lineup every day. I'd like to keep the 1 through 5 kind of consistent with, Nimmo 1, Marte 2, Lindor 3, Alonso 4, McNeil 5, or Escobar 5, or whoever, whatever. I'd like to keep the 1 through 4, 1 through 5 pretty much the same every day because I don't want to mix it up. I mean, you look at teams like the Yankees, keep it the same. These guys should know who's hitting behind them, how they're going to hit behind them so they could establish relationships with the guys hitting in front or behind them. So I'd much rather the 1 through 5 stay the same. I'm not against moving, obviously, the 8-9 spot, that's going to change every day. We're going to see Jankowski getting some reps in the 8-9 hole, Guillorme, Nito. It's going to happen. Mazika. But who knows? If Guillorme starts hitting, I wouldn't be against moving him up. I really wouldn't. Connor, what's going on? Connor says Drew Smith and Edwin Diaz have been an excellent 1-2 punch for the pen so far. If Lugo and one other pitcher out of the pen can be consistent, the Mets have a special season. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you completely. I think if this Mets bullpen can really just hold down the fort, I think they can definitely get some stuff done. Like I say, the bullpen, it's really important. I mean, a team's bullpen, I think, in my opinion, is arguably, some people could argue it's more important than the rotation. I mean, nowadays we've been seeing a lot of managers take their pitchers out much earlier. And yeah, I guess we can kind of say that we've been seeing a lot of guys. I mean, a lot of our rotation has only, been getting, 6, 7 innings, especially when DeGrom comes back. I mean, he's not going to be going 6, 7, 8, 9 innings every game. So like little stuff like that, I think is going to be intriguing to see ahead. So we'll see. And speaking of Tyler McGill, I honestly just went on Twitter. Brett Beatty is ranked number 23. Great. Boy, Tyler McGill, per his mom, Julie McGill, has been very, very nice to share a lot of photos. And McGill is at Citi Field throwing a little bit. So he's not on the road, and makes sense. I mean, why put him on there if he's not going to do anything, unless you just want him traveling with the team and talking to Hefner and talking to some guys, but whatever. Let him practice at Citi Field. So he's throwing. So hopefully we can get McGill back very soon. Custom Design Nintendo's what's happening, man. Again, he says, do we explore bringing back Bartolo Colon back for a while we are shorthanded? And I know, believe it or not, I mean, a lot of people have actually been saying that Bartolo Colon has had some interest in returning with the ball club. Looking at Bartolo Colon, he's 48. Big Sexy is 48. He hasn't pitched since 2018. I think he was with the Rangers or something. So it's been a little bit since he's pitched. I know he's been keeping up some type of, baseball athletics, out in Latin America. But he stated that he's hoping to receive an opportunity. And I mean, I think he specifically talked about the Mets as that opportunity. We know that he was throwing, some bullpen sessions, and that's kind of what's kind of sparked it. Wouldn't be against it. I mean, he was pitching in the Mexican League. Didn't have the best numbers over there. It's a possibility. I mean, I'm not going to say, he needs to come back. I think it'd be intriguing. Really will say. It will be intriguing. Galapos, what's happening? Seahawks, Jose, what's happening, man? Lucas says, Mets bats are looking good. Alonso, Nimmo, McNeil, Canna, and Marte are looking really good. Yeah. I will say for the least, they are looking good. John says, did you see Orioles called up Adley Rutschman? We get to see him tonight. They play the Yankees. We'll see his first home run tonight. I'm calling it. All right. Well, we heard it here first from our friend John. I saw his first hit was a triple, and I believe he had a base hit or some hit yesterday. So 2 hits, 2 games. So not bad. I mean, a hit per game is pretty much what he's on pace for. I don't stay like that. But, yeah, I mean, good to see Rutschman. I mean, we know, like I said, talking about prospects, You know, a lot of prospects haven't really been doing much this year. I mean, Bobby Wood Jr. hasn't been, Torkelson hasn't been, C.J. Abrams was sent down. No really offensive prospect has been doing much besides, I guess, Julio Rodriguez, and Wood Jr.'s, I guess, been okay. Connor says at some point they're going to have to start hitting the ball, period. Everything is on the ground. You want fly balls, but not these stats are not a good sign or trend. Yeah, I agree. Kobe says, what is your ideal Mets lineup? I kind of like the one we had against the Cardinals. Yeah, I don't remember that one. But like I say, I'm not crazy about, as long as the 1 through 5, 1 through 4 is consistent with Nimmo, Marte, Lindor, Alonso, and maybe that fifth spot, McNeil or Escobar. At this case, McNeil, because Escobar isn't hitting and McNeil is hitting like crazy. Keep that consistent. Otherwise, if you want to move around the 6, 7, 8, 9, okay, yeah, that's okay. I'm not going to be super upset about that. But try and keep most of this lineup consistent every day. I think that's big. Guys knowing who's hitting behind them and who's hitting in front of them, I think is really going to be huge. Cubs fandom, he says, "Go Cubs, go!" Absolutely, man. Go Cubs, go. Seahawks. Jose says, "How worried should I be that Thor couldn't get through an inning in his last start?" Well, yeah, I mean, I could speak from experience. I mean, I don't really remember any times particularly that happened with the Mets, but yeah, I know you are an Angels fan, man. I'm not crazy worried about it. I'm not going to panic for him. He definitely has plenty of more time to avenge himself. I'm not crazy worried about sorry, I'm just charging something. I'm not crazy worried about Syndergaard. He definitely has, Tommy John thought would be an issue for him, but it's not. So good for him. He really has been pitching pretty well. Abindo says, should McNeil bat towards the beginning or the end of the lineup? Honestly, I think it depends. I think, like I said, it's always good to have someone in the bottom kind of bits of this lineup to provide some offense. I'm not against it. However, I do like McNeil getting more at bats. So if McNeil bats, in the fifth spot, there's a likelihood in the third or fifth spot, whatever, there's a likelihood he'll get an extra at bat. And I think that extra at bat is huge. Yeah, again, it's one extra at bat. It could be huge. It could be in a huge situation, especially with a lot of these Mets games kind of being close games to an extent. And the offense kind of being a little bit quiet now. So I'm not against. So I would say I'd rather McNeil hit towards the beginning of this lineup so we can see the extra at bat. And I mean, having the protection around him of, Alonso, Lindor, Nimmo, Marte, Canna, huge. Cal says, which surprising team has been the biggest stud and dud so far this season? So what team has what team that is kind of a surprise is the biggest stud? So biggest kind of team that is shocking to be a stud that I didn't expect going into this season. Maybe the Guardians. I mean, 17-20, not bad. Probably the Diamondbacks. I mean, 21-22. I mean, that's literally 500 ball. One game below 500. Yeah, I don't expect them to keep it up, but I'd say they're kind of a surprise. Obviously, Guardians are kind of a surprise. Angels, I mean, who would have think that 26-17? I never really would have expected that. Well, I think they were always there. They just need pitching every year. But I think their biggest dud, probably maybe the Mariners. Kind of surprised that they kind of are putting up the numbers they are, maybe. Marco says, what are the current rankings of some Mets prospects with a lot of recent call-ups? Yeah, I think I did answer that. I know Alvarez is being moved to 17. I do know Alvarez will be the 7th best prospect. I mean, my apologies, not 7, the 7th best prospect. I know that our friend Brett Beatty will be the 23rd, and I couldn't tell you Mauricio or Alvarez. All things Mets media, what's happening, man? What's happening? Peter says, I'm loving what Buck Showalter has been doing so far. His attitude has been great for the team. Yeah, I mean, veteran manager, I guess, really proved to be a lot. Matthew, what's going on? Matthew says, pitchers duel and the Mets won. A shutout is sweet. More wins than losses. This is why I believe we could take it all the way. Get your hits on Mets. Thanks for good pitching. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I mean, we've been seeing a lot of good pitching duels out of the Mets. We know their pitching has I guess has always kind of been a strength. I mean, them being healthy has been a weakness, yes, but I mean, yes, overall, I mean, their overall performance has been so good. Um, so yeah, overall, I mean, I've been loving what we've been seeing out of this rotation. I mean, the bullpen has been a little weary every now and then, so I'm not, going to sit here and be, oh, we're fine. So definitely some stuff to go ahead, but we'll see. Definitely exciting though. Trey says Guillorme is playing better as his beard grows back. Coincidence? I think not. Yeah, I know he shaved his beard, and ever since he's been putting up really good numbers. And hey, listen, Guillorme, keep it up. I mean, maybe every player should have like a 5 o'clock shadow. Early stages of his beard growth type of thing. So that could be really something interesting. So super exciting to see Guillorme hitting. Rockley, what's going on, man? Rockley says Phillies finish above the Braves, in my opinion, and Marlins have a chance to finish above the Braves. Yeah, I mean, the Braves have kind of been a little quiet this season. I mean, don't get me wrong; they definitely have plenty of more time, to really, do something at the deadline. We know that the Braves were a second half team last year. We're way below 500 at the deadline, and the All-Star break and really blew up. Acquiring Soler. Duvall, little moves like that. So that could be huge for them. Phillies, in my opinion, I think the Phillies are a good team. I think they're, like I said before, they're just really inconsistent. Like their pitching will be really good one game, and then their offense will just be completely dead. And then it'll be the other way around. So I think the Phillies, if they can get their offense and their pitching clicking both at the same exact time, they could be a really deadly team. I mean, they have a good core there. They really do. I mean, Alec Bohm, I'm enjoying watching him. I think he's going to be something really big. Obviously, defensively a little bit of a worry, but he's gotten better defensively, don't get me wrong. So, yeah, I mean, the Phillies have a nice core with that Harper, Bohm, really could do something there. And, of course, the pitching's a little quiet. I think Wheeler's good. Nola. But, definitely I think, they'll be making some noise at the deadline. I think they'll have to grow their farm a little bit more because if you want to get something at the deadline, well, you're going to need some prospects, and I don't think they're going to trade anyone on their roster for roster pieces. So, yeah, Phillies farm is going to be concerned. And I agree with you. I think the Marlins are a good team. I mean, I was at the Marlins game last week against the Nationals, and they won 5-1. Yeah, I think the Marlins can really be a really good team. They have a young team, a lot of athleticism, a lot of young talent. I mean, Sandy Alcantara and Pablo Lopez have been having phenomenal seasons so far. I think they have a lot of their young prospects that are really making a direct impact. So I think the Marlins definitely can make a huge push forward at the deadline in acquiring a big bat and maybe even a big arm to just be like the cherry on top. Marlins, I think they'll hover around 500, but I think they could be a really good team. Trey says, what changed to make Edwin Diaz so dominant this year? Well, I mean, Diaz has always been an intriguing character, but I think the biggest thing for Edwin Diaz, I think for him going ahead, has just overall been, he's been a streaky player in the past. And I think overall with Edwin Diaz, I think the biggest thing is command of the zone, the slider on point. And, not giving up any lucky home runs. I think that's overall been the biggest thing for Diaz this year. And I think it's going to be huge for him down the line. If he could stay consistent, we know that Diaz last year started off really good. Then I'd like a 2-week series. It was like right after the All-Star break where he was like horrible. He had that blown save against Pittsburgh and then the Nationals. And then he was really good for a week and then was really bad for a week. So Diaz is definitely going to be, an inconsistent guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he's going to be really consistent, But I think when consistent and when, providing what he's doing, I think he definitely can be, a top 5, even top 3 reliever. I mean, 10 saves on the year is really good. So we'll see how that goes. Lucas says, do the Mets need to trade for another starting pitcher? I think it could be something to look for at the deadline. Not going to be crazy about it, but maybe at the deadline that could be something. See how things go with Zapucki and Peterson. Hopefully McGill should be back in a week or two. We'll see how the news progresses with DeGrom. Same for Scherzer. We'll see. Joe says, did you hear Jake Magma was promoted to AAA? Yes, I did hear that. Big promotion for him. Also another really underrated type of prospect. I know I never really spoke about Jake Mangum. My apologies, Mangum. I mean, I think he's like 26 or 25. So kind of that, age where you'd like to see him get called up. He's in AAA this year. Also, I mean, he's been hitting pretty well in AA in short sample size. Let's take a look, see at some of his stats. I mean, yeah, 283 average, 353 OBP, 761 OPS. Okay. 1 homer, 10 ribbies, 6 stolen bases, and 34 hits in 120 at-bats. Yeah. I mean, I think, okay, the OPS is average. I think the strikeouts are there. I think, maybe try and limit the strikeouts. Yeah, strikeout to walk ratio is big on the strikeouts. So that's the big OPS killer. But, definitely a nice double type of guy. So Jake Mangum is also another underrated guy, in my opinion. Rockley also says Freeman elevated the whole Atlanta team. In my opinion, Freeman was so consistent, while Olsen is good, but nearly not as consistent as Freeman. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Olsen has not really been having the best season first. And I mean, I kind of said that. I think the first stream of this series, I said for the first stream of the season, I think I said that Olsen, in my opinion, is going to have a rough first year in Atlanta, and that happens. A lot of guys on big contracts do. In my opinion, yes, I think Freeman is arguably the better player, but I think if you want the quality aspect of it or the quantity aspect of how long and how much, you're getting more years of Olsen, but I think the quality is going to go towards Freeman. So. Yeah, I mean, really interesting to see how that goes. So, probably going to call it a stream here, guys. I really do appreciate you guys for tuning in to today's stream, as always. I actually literally just got back from New York today. I live in Florida, if you guys do not know. I was in New York for a wedding, and I did go to the MLB store in Manhattan, so really cool to see. I got some MLB merchandise, some Mets merchandise. So, really cool about that. But, yeah, going to call it a stream here. In today's stream, obviously, we did go over the New York Mets and the Colorado Rockies series summary. Then we went over the New York Mets and the San Francisco Giants series preview. Then, of course, we went over all of your guys' comments, questions, and concerns for the New York Mets going ahead. And, of course, we went over the NL East, all of that great stuff. Yeah, otherwise, I really do appreciate you guys for tuning in. Streams have been doing phenomenal. You guys are blowing up the chat lately. I really do appreciate that, as always. Otherwise, I don't really have any much more to say here. For the most part, let's try and take 2 of 3. I really will say let's try and take 2 of 3. Otherwise, that is all I'm going to ask for. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. LFGM, please, everyone, smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, tell your friends about this channel, and, of course, much more. Thank you all for watching. Till next time, baseball fans, see ya.